Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, we talk about all things homesteading, homemaking, and just the journey to a slower, more simple life. And in today's video, I thought I would take you around for kind of a garden tour. I've been out here since early this morning, just kind of weeding and checking in on things. If you saw the last video, you would know that we had a deer problem, and I kind of jerry-rigged a fence. It seems to be working, and I am still crossing my fingers and kind of hoping that, the plants recover and we still get a decent harvest off of them by the end of the season. I am in Maine, and my zone is 5B, so I do have a shorter growing season. I typically plant things in the ground in May, and our first freeze is near the beginning of October. So not too long of a growing season, so if things kind of have a hard time, it's kind of hard to plant something new. Like, I can't really plant more tomato seeds or anything like that now, so I'm hoping that they'll just make a recovery and we'll still get something off of them. We still have time, so but I thought I would go around and kind of show you what's going on. This is not technically my first year because I have gardened here before, but the first year since I've been back to this property for a couple years. So it kind of feels like my first year in this garden. It is my first year in this garden because I built all these beds this spring and got all the soil together. So this is kind of year one in this garden. So I am excited to see how it goes, and of course I want to expand a lot. Where I'm living right now is kind of right in a suburbia area, I guess. We got neighbors all around. The backyard we can't really use to grow because there's trees shading the entire thing, so nothing would really grow well. But the front yard is very great sun, so we got our garden out here, and I hope to keep adding more. So it's small, but it's sweet, and it's doing a lot for how small it is. So let's together go take a look at what's going on in the garden. First things first, I have my mint right by the door in a pot. And if you didn't know, mint and oregano and stuff like that can take over spaces very easily because they're very prolific. So typically, people like to keep them separate from other things. I do have my oregano in the herb bed, but that's okay because I kind of like it taking over. I use a lot of oregano in my cooking, so that's all right with me. Let's go over and see. As you can see, huge oregano bush, fantastic. And that's after I've already gotten a pretty decent harvest off of it already this year. We also have thyme, and that is growing really well as well. You can see some of it's went to flowers, and they're very pretty, teeny tiny pink flowers, and they smell so good as well. Our chive plant is doing great. It has flowered, and the flowers have dried. I keep the flowers on the chives because they're just so pretty, and they attract lots of pollinators. It doesn't, to me, change the flavor at all. Some herbs you really don't want to go to flower because it can make the herbs not taste very good, but I don't find that with chives at all. So I don't worry about it. We also have our cilantro that I am trying to keep from becoming coriander, but it does bolt pretty fast. But I like to use cilantro in, I kind of make a sauce for wraps, so that's very good. Oh, snail. Goodbye. I know snails are awful for the garden, but I really love them. They're so cute, so I usually just kind of chuck them instead of killing them like I probably should. But we got a teeny tiny little rosemary. It really hasn't grown much, but it also hasn't gotten sickly looking, so that's all right. And we got some sage. Next is a bed that I am pretty excited about because I've never grown this before, but it seems like they're doing pretty well, and I'm kind of hopeful that I will get something off of it by the end of the season, and that is pumpkins. So you see all these, I planted some new ones also, so there's some smaller with bigger, but if you look right there, we got a little pumpkin growing, and that is exciting. But this variety, I think I have two varieties in here, and they're both ones that are much quicker to grow than a lot of more common varieties, so I'm hoping that also plays a part in me actually maybe getting a pumpkin or two. We will see. Like I said, I've never grown a pumpkin before, never even tried, but I don't know what got into me. I'm like, let's do it. Something so cool about, you know, making a pumpkin pie from a pumpkin from your own garden, and or like a jack-o'-lantern from your own garden. That would just be really, really cool. Now over here I got some tomatoes and beans and carrots and cucumbers. You will see where the deers did some damage on the tomatoes. Whoop. Yep. But they're still looking okay despite being nibbled off. They probably will not grow for a little bit because they're kind of gonna need to recover, but they're definitely not out of the game. I think we can still get stuff off of them. And the beans, some of them got eaten too, but we got beans coming up. They're a yellow bush variety. And as you see back there, we have carrots growing that I just thinned, but they definitely still need to be thinned out so that we can get some big plump carrots. But man, they really germinated really well, and I will need to be a little better with putting my seeds in, my carrot seeds in next year, because they like all germinated. Carrot seeds are just so tiny that it can be hard to really separate, but I'm gonna do that because I feel bad pulling stuff out. But you gotta do what you gotta do. And then here, all the way back there, I got cucumbers. I started them a little bit later, so they're still kind of babies, but they might do something good. Now this bed is kind of my leafy green, colder stuff that likes the colder temperatures a little bit, but you can see back there, whoop, there it is. All of that lettuce got chomped down, but we do have new leaves coming through, so I'm not gonna pull it because that might do just fine. We got another variety in there, and then this is a kale, and this is Swiss chard. Now this I'm excited about. I just saw this morning. If you come look, let's peek in here. You see what I see? Cauliflower. Cauliflower is growing. There's a second cauliflower plant in here, and the rest is cabbage, but we will see what we get. They're a little crowded, I think. I think I crowded them a smidgen too much, but I think we'll still do okay. The bed looks really nice, that's for sure. Another bed I am super, super proud of, because I've never grown this before either, but they're doing very well, is the potatoes. As you can see, the deer had a munch on those two, but that's okay. I'm not harvesting them for their fruit. That's actually very poisonous. Don't do that. But I got potatoes growing underneath, and it seems like they're doing really well. I've been mounding the soil up around them so that they will produce more, but they look really healthy, and I'm excited because I use a lot of potatoes in my cooking, so I really like to grow what I use, which is mostly, I use a lot of potatoes, I use a lot of tomatoes. Like I said, I hope my tomatoes will make an okay recovery. But that is kind of a tip from me, is that if you're just getting into gardening, it's super fun to try other things, like kind of weird stuff you might not use. But it's kind of the most fulfilling and full circle feeling when you're growing stuff that you use in the kitchen all the time, but now you're using it from your garden instead of going to buy it at the store. That to me is really my big goal, is to stop having to rely on stores and on either having to buy things from companies that I don't necessarily agree with how they're doing things, or have it be super expensive. Trying to do the most I can for me and my family. So these potatoes are making me really happy, because I hope it's a really good harvest. It'll be so exciting to get in there and see what's going on. Kind of lastly, I just have 2 more beds that have mostly tomatoes, and I put some carrots in as well. While I was thinning them, I took them and shoved them in between tomatoes, so you'll see those growing as well. We'll see how that goes. I don't know how transplanting a carrot that's that young will go. I figured maybe it'll work, but maybe it won't. But might as well, because I was just either gonna throw them in pesto or soup or just chuck them in the compost, so might as well try to grow them. But we got just different varieties of tomato growing. We have some in here as well, kind of smaller. The deer really did do a number on them. They might also be a little small because, one, this bed, the stuff I put in it was a lot sandier than I wanted. I amended it, but that might be one factor. And 2, it's been very rainy, which rain is good for plants, but the sun hasn't really been out that much, which I kind of like. Yesterday it was 80, and as a Northeast gal, that felt excruciatingly hot to me. I know that is like a lot of people's like nice morning is 80, but my perfect temperature is somewhere between like 68 and 73, I'd say, somewhere in there. I love a lot about the South, and I definitely want to visit, but the heat is not one of those things. But that really kind of does it for the garden tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, it's small, or it feels small to me, because, you know, I have big dreams of huge gardens and lots of animals and all of that stuff, but it's doing a good amount for what I can do here. So I'm really building skills on this smaller piece of property, and I'm building my knowledge that I can take with me when I do have more that will really help me out. So even if, you know, I don't get much of a harvest of stuff, and even if everything failed, which please no, even if that was the case, like I said, I'm building my knowledge, I'm building my skills, and that's all you can really ask for. There's one thing that nobody can ever take away from you, and that is your education on things, your knowledge that you've gained. Even if you lose all your money and all your property and everything else, you can't take away that. So I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like it and want to see more stuff like this, please think about subscribing, because I have a lot more in store. So thank you guys so much for being here today, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye!